In a quiet town nestled between two rolling hills, there lived an old man named Elias. He was the town's clockmaker, and though the world around him had long forgotten the beauty of gears and pendulums, Elias still spent his days surrounded by the soft ticking of time. His little shop stood at the corner of a narrow cobblestone street. The windows were covered in dust, and the sign above the door, once golden, had faded to the color of tea. But when you stepped inside, it felt as though you had entered another world. There were clocks of every kind, grandfathers, cuckoos, pocket watches, and tiny travel clocks that chirped like birds when they rang. The air smelled faintly of brass and oil, and in the center of it all sat Elias, his white hair glowing softly in the sunlight that filtered through the lace curtains. He loved his clocks deeply. They spoke to him in their own quiet language, a symphony of ticks and tocks that told stories only he could understand. But something was different now. For weeks, Elias had noticed that his clocks no longer ticked in harmony. Some ran fast, some slow, and some had stopped entirely, as if time itself had grown tired. He tried everything. He polished gears, replaced springs, adjusted hands, yet no matter what he did, every clock stopped again at exactly midnight. One evening, as the moon rose above the hilltops, Elias sat alone in his shop, surrounded by the silence of 100 frozen clocks. He sighed and whispered, "Perhaps time has decided to rest too." Just then he heard something strange. A faint, rhythmic sound, like the ticking of a clock but softer, coming from somewhere behind the wall. He followed it to the back of his shop, where an old grandfather clock stood that he didn't remember building. Its face was blank, its hands missing. Yet inside it, he could hear something alive, a gentle heartbeat of time. He opened the clock's wooden door, and a warm breeze brushed against his face. It smelled of earth, rain, and wildflowers. Inside the clock was a small doorway no larger than a window frame, and beyond it was a garden. Elias stepped through, and instantly the air changed. He found himself standing in the middle of a moonlit garden filled with clocks. They hung from tree branches like fruits, their pendulums swaying softly in the breeze. Small pocket watches grew among the flowers, ticking gently like the heartbeat of the earth. The grass glowed faintly, silver beneath the moonlight. He whispered to himself, "A garden of time." At the center stood a great willow tree, its branches heavy with vines of golden gears. And beneath it sat a woman, her dress made of starlight, her eyes deep as midnight. "Welcome, Elias," she said softly. "I've been waiting for you." Elias hesitated. Who are you?" She smiled. "I am the keeper of the garden. This is where all lost moments come to rest. When clocks stop, their missing seconds bloom here as flowers." She gestured to a patch of glowing daisies nearby. Each one ticked faintly as if whispering a memory. Elias knelt beside them, listening. He could hear laughter, footsteps, the voice of a child counting numbers. "These are people's moments?" he asked. "Yes," said the woman. "Every second that is forgotten, every pause in time, it lives on here, waiting to be remembered." Soft piano swells slightly, tone becomes emotional. Elias felt a lump rise in his throat. He thought of his clocks, all frozen at midnight, all holding their breath as if waiting for something. "Why did my clock stop?" he asked. The keeper looked at him gently. "Because your heart did, Elias. You have forgotten to live in the moment. You have been repairing time, but not feeling it." Her words pierced him. He realized how many years he had spent alone, counting minutes instead of memories. He had lost his wife long ago, and in his grief, he had buried himself in the rhythm of his work, trying to fix everything except himself. Tears shimmered in his eyes. "I only wanted to keep time from slipping away," he whispered. The keeper touched one of the golden gears on the willow tree. It began to turn slowly, and the garden filled with a soft humming sound, a melody of seconds returning to life. Time doesn't need to be kept, she said. It needs to be felt. It breathes through laughter, through silence, through the space between heartbeats. The willow tree's branches began to glow, and from them fell tiny shimmering seeds, each one pulsing like a small clock hand. The keeper placed one in Elias's palm. This is a seed of time. Plant it and you'll remember how to live between the ticks. Elias knelt down and pressed the seed into the earth. Instantly, a flower bloomed, a soft, white blossom shaped like a clock face. Its petals opened slowly, revealing a faint reflection of Elias as a young man, laughing, dancing, living. He smiled for the first time in years. And for a brief moment, he heard the voices of his wife and child, echoing through the wind. Their laughter blended with the ticking around him, forming a peaceful rhythm, the sound of life itself. "Go now," said the keeper. "Take this rhythm with you. When you wind your clocks, listen for the garden's heartbeat inside them." Elias nodded, tears glistening in his eyes. He turned back toward the doorway that led to his shop. As he stepped through, the air shimmered, and the scent of the garden faded into the familiar smell of oil and brass. The shop was silent again. But when he looked around, something had changed. Every clock was ticking, slowly, softly, but perfectly in sync. And in their rhythm, he could hear faint whispers of the garden. He walked to the window, opened it, and let the morning light spill in. The world outside was quiet, yet alive. Birds singing, wind stirring leaves, a child laughing somewhere in the distance. He smiled and whispered, "The world is ticking again." That evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, Elias placed a small pot of soil on his windowsill. Inside it grew the little white flower from the garden, its petals glowing faintly with every passing hour. He sat beside it, winding his favorite pocket watch, and whispered, "Time isn't something I fix anymore. It's something I listen to." The flower's petals moved gently in rhythm, like a heartbeat. And for the first time in a long time, Elias closed his eyes and slept. The end.